Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have all awaited this date. The ever-anticipated first, and more than likely last, presidential debate between Donald Trump and the best that the Democrats could muster in poor old Joe Biden. That's right, Biden has recused himself from answering questions for the last several weeks, and now he must bust out of the basement and face some tough questions and hope that he doesn't trip over his own 2 feet. Or in his case, perhaps 3. What would appear to be a railroading in the making today, I break down on what to expect and how Trump's momentum will propel him ahead in crucial battleground states and expose the months-long liberal slant to the bogus Biden ahead pre-election polls. This ahead and more today on the Closet Conservative Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Wright. Let's get started. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our new 1 out of 2 episode slots here at the Closet Conservative Podcast. As announced last week, we will now be offering our listeners 2 action-packed and anti-liberal movement episodes each week, airing every Tuesday and Saturday. Also, over on the Liberty Loft, the Jared Dyson Show will be airing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so if you haven't checked out our new collection, please head on over. You don't want to miss out. Now, folks, let's jump right into the depths of the ongoing Democratic despair running amok here in America. That's right. The left is losing their minds over the nomination of ACB, and now it appears that someone can indeed be too Catholic. That's right. Apparently, someone can have too much religion to be reliable in making judicial decisions for our country. Never mind, our nation was founded under God. For the left, God is dead, and any resemblance or mentioning of his name turns the stomach of the dear old Democrats. And like many of you listening today, I'm on the edge of my seat for the upcoming presidential debate, moderated by Fox News' Chris Wallace, who, unlike his counterparts at Communist CNN and Madcow-MSNBC, has vowed to remain in the shadows and make it a moment for both candidates to speak on their platforms. Liberals love to hear themselves speak, but the same cannot be said of Biden, who stumbles upon every word and equates his 180 years of senatorial experience as the saving grace for our failing nation. Trump is sure to be questioned on the New York Times report over the weekend, which supposedly revealed that President Trump paid just $750 in taxes in years 2016 and 2017. I so desperately want Biden to bring this issue up. And for Trump, he needs only to mention that Biden and his constituents have not the slightest clue on either how business works, the ownership of property, and how that equates to return or losses on investments. By now, we all know that President Trump, before elected to office, owned and operated properties across the globe. Some have flourished, and some not so much. However, if you were to ask any successful business partner, they would tell you that not all investment ideas render a profit. Most likely, most will not. Here enters the Democratic dogma of America. From the onset of President Trump into the political stage and onto the political stage, liberals have chastised him for his wealth in their attempt to equate him to a financial elitist, too out of touch to lead our nation. Donald Trump is the perfect example of financial fixture for our country, illustrating that the reward for success can be wealth. However, being too scared to venture out is not the American way. For Democrats and those who follow them, the measure of success can only be the total amount of your gross income one contributes to their socialistic principles and policies. And what is harder for members of the left to understand is this. When you have never owned or operated a business, a home, and have been deathly dependent on government and fellow taxpayers to eke your way through life, basic business strategies and the principles thereof can be quite confusing. Someone living in government housing, receiving WIC, SNAP, and EBT benefits, only affording their child care for their 10 children at the sacrifice of others and not for their wants for Michael Jordan's newly released Knickers, has no concept of financial accountability. no idea what it means as a small business owner to be the last one paid after 100 hours of work. No, they don't get or begin to understand the basic principles of accounting and how losses in the tens of hundreds of millions of dollars can extend for a decade. And why cannot these unfortunate souls not understand that? Because for the life of them, they cannot seem to climb out of the depths of liberal oppression and desperately seek a better future for themselves and their families than what Democrats have offered them for the last 50 years. And who has been at the helm while Democrats have impoverished millions in our country? That's right, folks. Joe Biden. The Democratic Party can only muster to save America from the bowels of Trump hell by putting a done-nothing, do-nothing Democrat in Joe Biden, whose out-of-touch policies have kept people in our country begging for the scraps at the table of successful Americans, who have said no to liberal socialism and personally decided to make a better life for themselves. The fact of the matter is this: Joe Biden's extent of business is to sell out hard-working American jobs to the highest bidder, whether that be closed-door dealings with his comrades over in China or allowing his son Hunter a seat at the Ukrainian potato pancake table, making millions in sketchy offshore oil sales. Joe Biden continues to say he isn't a socialist, but all indicators will point otherwise. Biden has no choice but to move further left. A moderate man he is not. Utterly confused, he is that. But now, after being scolded by everyone not sitting at an ABC, CNN, or MSNBC roundtable, Joe Biden is forced to backfire out of the basement to debate Donald Trump. And for that lapse of judgment, ladies and gentlemen, Democrats and Biden's chances in leading our country will dive him deeper due to his liberal-led balloon. Fasten your seatbelts, set your DVRs, and grab a massive pair of Depends. Seeing Joe Biden on the debate stage will be both entertaining and most likely assuredly to leave you laughing so uncontrollably you will lose your bladder. This is Eric Wright, and you've been listening to the Closet Conservative Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Please remember to give a 5-star review and share our podcast with your friends. The Closet Conservative Podcast is a production of the Liberty Loft. Copyright The Liberty Loft, 2020. You can find more shows and information on our website, www.thelibertyloft.com, or any of our social media channels.